We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Darren Waller, Miami Dolphins' newest tight end. Did I think I would be making this film breakdown today? No. Very surprising move. I'm expecting them to add a tight end. They get Darren Waller out of retirement. This is a Frank Smith move. Him coached Darren Waller while he was with the Raiders, and he had his breakout years. Waller said like would be like the only coach he would come back and play for. So Waller. Honestly, I will say after watching the film, I was surprised, like, he was still actually playing at a decent level in 2023. The last time he played, was making some plays in, with poor quarterback play with the Giants. Still has some good receiving ability. He's your, Jonnu Smith replacement. Different players, but they are both more F receivers. I think my favorite part about Darren Waller's game, just, from that perspective, is his ability to line up on the outside and beat corners in man-to-man coverage. Like, he was beating a lot of teams, like, opposing corners in one-on-one reps. There's some negatives to his games. Like, there's times he struggled with injuries, kind of, quit in his final year, lost the passion. Those things are concerns. But this is one of those things, like, I don't have, like, crazy high expectations. I don't really have much, but it's a low risk move, potential high reward, or, they put in, a late round pick swap. They're offering him 1 year up to $5 million, so it's an incentives based deal. So if he actually gets $5 million, that means he at least earned it with like playing time or actually making a difference. But I think it all just depends if he comes back in game shape. I think that's like impossible to predict, like how much he's ready. But it's a 1 year situation. If he can just give you 1 year of work like that, I know he's at least it looked like he was still in pretty good shape. Well, those times we've seen him interviewing, like he's putting that stuff in. Last time he played in 2023, still pretty athletic, was still able to get open. I think he's more of a field stretcher and a guy that can, create separation than Jonnu, but not as good after the catch as Jonnu. And then from a blocking perspective, I don't think they're going to ask him to block much. I would say he's not much of a blocker. Probably did more inline work than Jonnu throughout his career, at least, showing some stuff. But this is like the type of thing you like. One-on-one versus Stephon Gilmore. Does a good job with his release here, kind of setting this up. Good mix-up of tempo, attacks the outside leverage, uses his, now once he gets engaged with the corner, use your size and physicality to the best of your capabilities to create that separation, and then boom, get it open across the middle, has to work off script with his quarterback, make a tough catch. Had pretty good, like, I think his drop percentage was very low in 2023, so he was able to hang on to stuff. There's sometimes like he takes some big hits over the middle and lost the ball. But having the ability to line up on the outside, basically plays like the X receiver one-on-one with a corner and actually get open versus press man, off man, zone coverages. Actually pretty impressive for a 30-plus-year-old tight end. Like, obviously he's not going to be that player. He's never going to be the player he was in like 2019, 2020. But can he play at this 2023 level that was still pretty decent? I think that's a possibility, and it would probably be even better in Miami. I mean, he's going to be a situational player too. Like, he's not going to play every snap. He's not going to play much in line where Julian Hill and Pharaoh Brown are. He's going to be basically like a big slot, play that Jonnu role, maybe even be more specialized than what Jonnu was. Actually had a really good game against Miami in 2023. Took advantage of Eli Apple, at least on the outside, catching the ball on slant with timing routes. That's a big part that can fit into what Miami does. Catch the ball in stride. He actually has pretty good straight line speed, at least last time he played. He still has that juice to his game. Catch the ball. Definitely a guy that's had a lot of experience working the middle of the field and can be like a middle of the field like stretcher, running like an over route, run some deep over, get behind the linebackers, snap your head around. He's open, ball's thrown behind him. He makes a tough catch behind the frame. I think, he basically is going to be playing as like him and Nick Westbrook-Akine are kind of your bigger body receivers. Can be red zone threats, but I think Westbrook-Akine can be more of a vertical guy for you. He has that ability, while Waller can work more of that middle of the field, 15-yard range the Dolphins like to use. I think that's sort of where he fits in. The rest of his game maybe doesn't translate super well to what Miami would ask out of like an all-around tight end, but he clearly can do this stuff, down in the red zone, stretch the field seam-wise, good adjustment, mixing up like his route stem here. Snaps the head around, expect the back shoulder based on the leverage of the defender. Boom, make that adjustment and get down in the end zone. Here, facing off, snaps it around. Look at him flip his hips, catch the ball, flip your momentum away, good feel and awareness to pull away from Eli Apple, knowing like where he is just based on that. This is some good yak anticipatory skills and pull away, able to at least fall forward for an extra 3 yards. Then man to man again, just outside, like literally being able like this is not normal for most times to be able to like one on one outside versus team's corner if you're going against Stephon Gilmore and picking up a nice 6 yard completion on a slant route. I think that's at least somewhat valuable to Miami. It's not like a crazy valuable thing to have, but they don't really have a lot of big body guys that can do that. And Waller has shown to at least do it in the prior season he was. I think your just biggest concern is how much effort he's putting in at this point in his career. But like back in 2023, it's not that long ago, he was still able to do stuff like that, make those types of plays. Here's one where he doesn't come down with it, but he almost hits Xavier Howard with the stop and go, spin out of it, fight through contact. He actually should have caught this. I think Howard just recovers nicely and takes the ball out of his hands. I think there's times where like Waller didn't struggle too much with drops, but like there was some where like it was maybe a tough catch to make and the guy just dislodged it and he could have maybe hang on to it a little bit better. But here you can see the speed crossing the field, deep crossers. This is something you can see in Miami play action, stick the foot in the ground, being able to gain a lot of ground very quickly on like these crossing routes. This is something that fits in well with when you have receivers on the field. It could be like a Tyreek here, a Waddle here, and then you have Waller opening up the field. That's something. This is an area where like I think he would be better than Jonnu because I think Jonnu's definitely better underneath, better yak, but I think Waller has that better ability to be a field stretcher while still doing some of the other things at a decent level. But here, just a lot of these. This one doesn't hang on to him, like I'm saying, like just when he's getting hit hard at the catch point or the guy knocks, plays his hands, he can lose the ball like that situation, not able to hang on to it. Then you see this play action, quick hitter over the middle, quick over route, catch the ball, snap your head around. Once you get in past this zone, this guy underneath trying to take away, you catch the ball, get upfield. He's not a crazy yak guy, but he will fall forward. Definitely more yak than like say Gesicki, but definitely not as much as like what Jonnu would bring to the team. But yeah, still some underneath stuff, still some decent change of direction. Isolate him on the linebacker. It's actually funny because a lot of his routes are him going against corners and safeties. I feel like in the Dolphins offense, he will be able to see just based on, the weapons around him. He doesn't have to be the number one guy like he was with New York. He'll be like, fourth, fifth guy. He can actually get matchups on linebacker, so he could be like a potential mismatch in those situations. But like here versus James Bradbury with the Eagle, he just bullies him off the ball. Physicality, create separation, make a nice catch on 3rd and 10 on a slant and win and get the first down. Pretty impressive. Just beating corners down the field over the top, makes a nice catch, good adjustment, good body control in air. He can be a guy that kind of checks and release. You get a little bit of a chip on the DB here. He thinks you're blitzing, you block him. Boom, late release, catch the ball, get upfield. There still was some good. I was pretty pleasantly surprised with some of the receiving ability that he had. Here's the spin out that he did against Howard. Doesn't create as much separation this time, but actually makes a tough catch. Does a good job showing late hands there, pull it away. Doesn't allow the corner to make a play on him. James Bradbury, who actually was like pretty decent for the Eagles that season. He's like beating him in multiple reps as a tight end who retired after the season. Going versus corners, it's not a common thing. Like as I'm saying, you're isolated. You're on the single receiver side versus a corner, and you just running that dig route over the middle, catch the ball in stride, making a play down the field. Definitely was the 2023 film was better than I expected. I expected him to be like more washed. And there was even plays left on the field because of some from him, but also like his QB play for that year was Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and Tommy DeVito. Like they all had like similar amounts of reps that season. So tough to get things going, but some things to like with his game. Wouldn't say you should have crazy expectations, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's slightly better and than people are thinking, especially for a guy coming out of retirement. It's actually not a bad fit for him, and Frank Smith is like one guy he clearly wants to play for, and he's with Miami. So overall, interesting trade, very surprising. I think I have pretty high expectations for Minka. The Darren Waller stuff is like, hey, low risk move with some potential decent reward to it. I'm not mad about it. It's a late round pick swap, uh, incentive based deal. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And next time. Peace.